What's happening?
Yeah, it's I think one of the things about the show that our audience loves is hearing the stories behind the music. They
Hmm.
we see the credits, we see the videos and stuff, but it's always the backstories that we don't really get.
Right.
And so when you
Hmm.
normally do interviews, they're talking just about your songs, but they don't talk about you, how you got through. So we always go to the very beginning, like where you're from, where you were raised, how you got into music, and then we start to go from there.
Okay. Should we start?
Yeah, we can start. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. How did I start? Okay.
No, but where are you from? Because we have an international audience, so that's always good.
Oh, okay. I am from Wichita, Kansas, a small town in the middle of the United States. They call it the Bible Belt and all that.
Okay.
Midwest, flat, nothing there, no oceans, just nothing. But a lot of churches and a lot of alcohol.
Okay. Okay.
They call it the land of liquor stores and churches.
Oh my goodness.
Look, that's kind of what it is. You trying to you escaping or you trying to be saved, one or the other.
Okay.
and they service each other. Isn't that ironic?
Wow.
But no, it's a great testing ground for people like me who, when you have any kind of talent whatsoever, the church is a good place for it to be tested because the
Okay.
audience is so very hard audience, the church audience, bro. You gotta sharpen your skills before you get up in front of them folks. It's the most judgmental people in the world. So you like, if you think you're trying to jump up and play and sing in front of a particular audience, you better have your shit together.
And
And
is that where
yeah,
you started? Did you start up because of mainly every artist says yeah they started in the church, almost like that was a
yeah.
breeding ground for talent.
Especially America. I think that's kind of a typical thing in America, because it is a breeding ground. And the competition, there's like a lot of competition in church to church,
Yeah.
and regionally, there's choirs that compete against each other, really. Well, they don't say they're competing, but they are. Uh, and there's, musicals. So there's just a lot of opportunities to perform, number one. But mostly when I was a kid, I didn't start playing keys till I was like 10. And it was like, just the basic trying to figure things out as I heard them played at my church. So having a young person, her name was Cherry Dennis, having a young person that was like 13-year-old girl playing the piano that I could physically see
Yeah.
and say, hey, if this young person can do that, maybe I can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then getting to be up close and watch her play and accompany the choir. It was pretty amazing. We had a drummer, bass player. We had a band. So being exposed to that type of thing so early was very impactful because I understood the power of, first of all, people playing together, right?
Yeah.
And then going to the rehearsals and watching how it was all put together. Like, okay, here's the parts, here's the arrangements, and then watching it all come together for a performance on Sunday.
Wow.
Very important because that taught me discipline. Like, wow, you got to learn what you're doing and then be ready to be prepared for if the spirit moves another way. So
Yeah.
that was like you're learning the structure, but then you're keeping it open for movement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of like jazz in a way if you really think about it, like
Yeah.
open for improv type of thing. Yeah.
Uh, But at this point in time, though, were you just focused on the musical part? Because I didn't realize you also sang. But because was it a combination of the two?
At that time, I was just trying to figure out how to play and try to sound like the person I was trying to imitate, the chick on the keyboard.
Okay.
But the singing part, I had always thought I was Michael Jackson, like all of us growing up when we were young Mike. You think
Yeah.
you could sing, you doing the "Got to Be There," doing the "I Want You Back" and all that. But I thought I could sing, but I wasn't sure. And then I started hanging around with people that were older than me, like they already had groups and bands and stuff. So I was like this kid hanging around grown people, like practicing their band stuff. So I just started to pick up the mic and try to do my thing on it. But eventually I got serious and we went to the studio. I think I was 11 years old, bro, with
A year later.
with yeah, 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds. I was in there with them, and I think I sang my first song in an actual recording studio at 11. That would have been 1977.
Wow.
But then that was like, it's kind of disastrous because my voice hadn't changed and all that.
Okay.
By the time that happened, by 79, I was full-fledged like, oh, this is what I got to do. This is it. Because you got groups like Shalimar were out and their harmonies were exquisite.
Yeah.
You got Clark Sisters came out that year with Is My Living in Vain. So I'm just getting bombarded. But remember, before that, it was all Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, the records that were on the radio.
Yeah.
But I never had a keyboard. I couldn't afford a keyboard. So at this time, I would just go to the church and try to learn things I heard on the radio on the church gear. You know what I mean? Because that's all I had.
Yeah.
So eventually, I think I started figuring out chords and stuff based on just trying to remember what I heard on the records,
Wow.
No formal training whatsoever.
So even in the church, could they notice what you were doing and say, okay, let's give you some support, training wise? Or
They said, stop trying to sound like the world.
Okay.
That's too worldly would be an often refrain. Nope, y'all getting too worldly.
Even Stevie, even if you're doing some Stevie.
Please, that's even exactly Stevie, any of the other ones. But here's the deal: when people like the Clark Sisters came out with their stuff, and they had such an overwhelming Stevie Wonder influence, right? Is My Living in Vain was like, we was like, whoa, what is that? That's like female Stevie Wonders, like 5 of them in the Clark Sisters. So let me tell you something. When that happened, it was an explosion across the Midwest, and they're from Detroit. So that whole thing was very, very big in the Midwest. And it was just Andre Crouch, Walter Hawkins and the Hawkins family from Oakland, Andre Crouch from LA, all that really slick production gospel stuff is what started getting in my ears. Tremaine Hawkins, man, it was just like an explosion of, I call it the golden age of gospel.
Wow.
For like the 70s, 80s, forget it. That's when the production values changed. And all of a sudden, gospel records sounded as slick and as produced as R&B and funk.
Wow.
Because of people like Bill Wolfer, who produced, I said Bill Wolfer, not Bill Wolfer. What's my man's name? The Winans producer. Bill, what's his last name? You know what I'm talking about? The Winans, he produced all the Winans records, man.
Wow.
Anyway, look that up, Google that. He's amazing, but his style of production was literally he made those records sound like Earth, Wind, and Fire records, bro.
Wow.
So that was huge for gospel. It was a big, big leap forward. Yeah.
And so at this time, so here you are, you're getting a buzz for the music, but you're in the Midwest because I went to college in Wisconsin, Milwaukee. So it isn't New York, it isn't LA. But I went to college in 97, 94. Atlanta isn't the hub of music as it is now. So you had to be in either East or West Coast. For you in Kansas, did you see an outlet for your music, or did you think you just do local stuff?
No, I saw an outlet and I was trying to get out of there as soon as I could. So I graduated high school like a whole year early just to try to pursue it. So what progressed from starting early in those studio years, I had a little knack for working in the studio at like 15. That's like 1981 for me. I graduated high school in 83. I was supposed to get out in 84 with the express intention of getting a record deal, right?
Wow.
So this girl I was dating, she had a sister who lived in Los Angeles at the time. This is like 1986, but we had done enough demo material between 81 and 84 that I had a nice demo of some really slick, very contemporary gospel-ish message music type stuff. Because if you remember, in 1985, Tremaine Hawkins had a record out called Fall Down. Incredible. And that was huge. Google that, people. That style of production, it was like it went huge in the clubs. It was like a gospel record that was huge in the clubs, just like the Clark Sisters, You Brought the Sunshine. You know that one?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so that's like 1983.
Wow.
So and these major labels were picking up those records and putting them out because they were blowing up in the streets. So the major labels got hip to it. So Elektra Records put out the Clark Sisters, You Brought the Sunshine, and A&M Records put out Tremaine's Fall Down and her album. So we thought, well, hey, we can do it too, because the Winans, Quincy Jones signed the Winans like in 83,
Yeah.
84, something like that. So we were like, yeah, we could do that. So the plan was, let's go to LA, see if we can get a record deal with A&M. And John McClain, who was executive producer of Janet's Control album,
Yeah.
gave us a listen, and he liked us.
Oh, well, how
right?
did you? Wait. Okay, you're.
We had a manager. We got a manager.
Okay, you got a manager.
And the manager got our tape to John McClain's ears, and also to Dick Griffey's ears. Because remember, I told you we like Shalimar too.
Yeah.
So
Solar, right?
Solar. So he got our tape to Dick Griffey and got our tape to John McClain. John McClain gave us a quick response, like, "Hey, I'm digging it," and then he said, "You guys go back home to Kansas. I'll get back to you." And so we went back home to Kansas and waited. Didn't hear anything. Janet kept blowing up and up and up. Janet got bigger and bigger and bigger with Control.
So
he's just like, too busy for that. So, but he did hook us up with their gospel affiliate with A&M Records, was called Word Records.
Oh, wow.
So they were distributed by A&M. So he hooked us up with that arm of it. Their contract was horrendous, so we didn't sign it. So we're back home in Kansas, and now it's 1987.
Okay, now before that, how did you know? Because a lot of my guests, 90s stars, talk about the contracts. How did you know back in that early days about the contract was bad? We're not going to sign it, because that's a big risk. If you,
I'm this kind of dude. I start calling people that were already signed to the label and ask them what do they think about their deal. That's what I did. I didn't know anything about the legal stuff, mumble jumbo, but I was smart enough to call people who were already on the label.
Wow.
And I found their numbers and was like, yo, I'm about to ask them, how do they feel about their arrangement with this label? And most of them were like, this is crap. And, don't do it. Don't do it.
Wow.
So we didn't do it with Word and A&M. However, just when I didn't think it was going to happen for me, a group called Club Nouveau from Sacramento, California. They were huge at the time. They had a record called Lean on Me.
Yeah.
It was a gold single. And then they also had Why You Treat Me So Bad. They were huge.
Why You Treat Me So Bad, yeah.
Yeah, on Warner Brothers. They were huge in 1986. And so at this time, it's 1987. And we're back home, like, kind of sad because we didn't get the deal in LA. And we're like, didn't happen, whatever. So I get a phone call from one of my buddies who was a big Club Nouveau fan. I was not a big Club Nouveau fan at the time, because I'm like this snobby singer guy who's all about the Clark sisters, Donny Hathaway, Stevie Wonder, singers, right? Yeah. So this Club Nouveau was not that. So, but I still respected their street game. They had huge hits. Now, I'm this kid at home at my mom's house in Kansas. I'm not about to argue about it. So when I get a call from my friend saying, hey, I'm with Jay King from Club Nouveau, and I let him hear your tape, because everybody had our demo tape that we had been circulating, and Jay King grabbed the phone and said, yo man, I want to sign you guys. I want to take this tape to Benny Medina, who was the head guy at Warner Brothers at the time. He said, if I let Benny Medina hear this tape, he's going to sign you. He said, are you prepared to to leave Kansas and move to California? I was like, yes. And so that's exactly how it happened. We got signed to Warner Brothers in 1987. And all of a sudden, I moved from Kansas to Cali.
Now, you said we, so he keeps saying we, so I wasn't sure who was, what was it?
It was me and the girl that I had been dating in high school.
Yeah.
And then another guy. It was three of us.
So you were going to be like a Club Nouveau, like a
no, we were going to be like no. At this time, now things had shifted. They wanted us to be more like Guy. Teddy Riley's Guy.
Yeah.
Because my sound was very similar to Charlie Wilson and all that kind of thing. Because that's my hometown heroes. Charlie and them are from Oklahoma, right next door to Kansas, where I'm from. So that was like a major sound. So that was all through me. Stevie, Charlie was my energy. And so when Warner Brothers heard us, they were like, whoa, we found our own guy with this one guy that's writing, producing all of it. So it was a girl and me and another guy. There's three of us, called CASHAPP Devoir. Look it up.
Okay.
that's also on the internet as an unreleased 1988 Warner Brothers album. CASHAPP Devoir.
So they wanted to pitch you up next to sort of, because Guy, Groove Me. I mean, what was your thoughts when that was blowing up?
Well, we never came out. We got dropped before it ever came out.
Oh no. But what was your thoughts when you saw Guy coming out with Groove Me? I
Oh,
mean,
well,
as a producer, writer yourself.
I thought it was incredible because Teddy's whole sound was so different, and it was different than everything that existed at the time. So I knew Teddy was a genius, and I also had known that Teddy had done the show for Dougie
Oh
Fresh
yeah,
a few years earlier in 85.
yeah.
So I knew Teddy was a genius, and he also had done Somebody Else's Guy for that record. That I can't get off my heart. That's Teddy too. People don't know that's Teddy Riley. Yeah. So I knew he was a genius. So I was like, that guy is incredible. But I wasn't so much. I got to tell you, I wasn't a big fan of Aaron Hall. I thought it was Charlie Wilson Redux. Like I was like, he's trying to do Charlie, and that's my job.
Okay. But I think that's what got Guy the deal. When I interviewed Timmy Gatlin, he says the Aaron Hall was the Charlie 2.0. But yeah,
and he was writing the hell out of that stuff.
Yeah, but then and I grew up. I grew up in London, went to high school in Nigeria, and the Gap Band were big. It's amazing how big the Gap Band was. So to imagine the voice of Charlie. So but the name of your group was kind of a hard one to pronounce and remember. Why did you come up with something?
We were trying to be trendy, like Club Nouveau was French.
Okay.
And so we tried to stay in. We were joining their club, if you will. So to me, I was like, well, if I'm gonna join this club, what are we bringing to it? And I thought we're bringing our unique voices. So Cachet de Voix means unique voice.
Cachet de Voix, okay. So all of a sudden you go to Warner Brothers. Now, did you think about the deal because you've been talking to everyone else? Did you just at this time say, forget what it is, whatever they give us, I take, or what was the?
That's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did, bro. Because we were trying to get out of Kansas. It was like, whatever, let's go. So, but it all ended up not mattering because we got dropped due to some bad business on Jay King's part. It was he fell out with the higher ups, and they dropped his whole umbrella, which we were signed through. So it all didn't matter anyway. So we were by 88, we were already, by 89, we were already dropped. We got signed in 87, recorded and made a whole album that I wrote and produced the whole thing. And then never came out and got dropped by 89. That's when my real education started about how I was going to survive in this record business.
So what did that year and a half teach you? Because you're out in LA, you're seeing all this stuff, you're living a part of the high life because you're
Nope, not in LA. I was in Sacramento, thank God. In Sacramento, It's just like Kansas. It's very Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah.
So thank God I wasn't in LA. I never lived in LA till now.
Yeah. Okay.
I've only lived here for 8 years. I was in Sacramento for 28 years. From the time I got signed till 2012. Wow. I lived in Sacramento. All my hit records and stuff, I did them from Sac.
Okay.
But a whole lot of stuff got made in Sac. Brown Sugar, D'Angelo's whole album got made in Sacramento with Raphael Sadiq. Lots of hit records made in Sac and the Bay and the surrounding Bay Area.
Yeah, the Foster McClary.
That's right, Denzel and Thomas. That's right.
Yeah.
They were part of Club Nouveau.
That's what I was going to say. So did you connect with them when Jay King signed you? Were you under his?
I saw them and they were like, how people do when I was the new kid coming in, like they're like, who's this motherfucker? Like, and then I was also self-contained, so I didn't really need anybody else to do my thing. Like I didn't need another person, I didn't need a partner. I was writing all my own stuff. So I was kind of like the guy that people either loved or hated based on, whatever their vibe was. I was the new kid in Sacramento, so I had a lot to live up to. People like Robert Brookins was there. He's a genius. Derek Allen, another genius, was working with Janet Jackson at the time. He's the guy playing bass in her Black Cat video. Wow. Those people were all from Sacramento. So lots of talent, man. Incredible talent in Sacramento. So I came into a cesspool of really dope people, period. Club Nouveau just happened to be the most successful ones out of it, but there was a whole lot more heavier cats. Robert Brookins played with George Duke and Earth, Wind & Fire and people like that. So these people were like very serious musicians and real deal people. So I'm glad I had my Midwest training had taught me to be able to hang in that world of real players and real singers and writers. So yeah, but
Was
once that
Timex? Were they not? Were they? Were they?
that was first. That was first. J
Oh,
King's first record was the Rumors record. That was
yeah.
'86. But that fell apart, and then he created Club Nouveau out of the ashes of that.
Okay.
So you're
Okay.
very good to ask.
Yeah. Okay. The question I had then before we can move forward was the fact that when you were this young in Kansas, you were in the studio, because I see images of pictures of the studio with the consoles, and I mean that looks quite different from just being a keyboard player and a drummer. The technical side was, were you getting experience learning that part of it, or were you focusing on the keys?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, in Kansas, I worked at a studio that was very nice. The guy that owned what would be the local, you know how you have the Guitar Center as your
Yeah,
local
yeah, yeah.
instrument place? Well, Kansas had a place called Miller Music, and the guy that owned it, John Miller, he started a recording studio as an offshoot of his instrumental rental place thing.
Yeah.
So I just spent a lot of time in his rental place because I just couldn't afford to do anything else. So I would rent stuff, take it home, create program on the drum machines and play keys and try to record it onto just basically a boombox, really.
Wow.
And he saw my dedication, and he thought, you know what, this guy's in here every week. You know, I'm going to invite him to my new recording studio. So it was like a 16-track recording studio. He said, why don't you come down to the studio and try to put some stuff down and see what you think. So I did. I put several things down when I got there. Of course, that was amazing that I got free studio time at a room that was really, really nice. And so I recorded a lot of stuff. We ended up recording the whole demo there that got us the Warner Brothers deal.
Wow. Did you ever come back and pay back or say hi to him after things blew up?
Of course. Well, not only that, I took the engineer with me that I used. He ended up being my engineer on all my stuff, on SWV and on Mark the Wash.
Wow.
His name was Larry Funk. I took him with me after I got signed to Warner Brothers. I brought him out.
Wow.
So not only that, I paid it forward and hired the person who had been doing all my demos.
My goodness. And so here you are down in Sacramento with all this talent, and then you're doing the debut album. In your mind, did you start seeing, yep, we're going to break it. We see what's out there, today, and Basic Black. Yeah, we can take them based on what we're doing. Or what was your thinking during your demo process when you were doing the demo?
Nah, because here's the deal. Everybody was trying to do New Jack Swing, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, in my mind, I was like, I think I better start writing for other people, because first we got dropped, and there was no vehicle for me to do it through. So in my mind, I was like, I'm going to write for people that I know already have record deals. That was the smartest thing for me to do, because not having a record deal myself, I'm like, I got to get something out that's going to be on the radio, right? So I started thinking about Charlie Wilson and the Gap Band, and I started thinking about Martha Wash, because she was huge on the heels of the CNC Music Factory stuff. That whole turmoil, and Black Box with everybody, right? So I was like, yo, I could write some joints like that, because I love house music too. So I was like, I could write some of those. So I wrote a couple of things for Martha, and I wrote a couple of things for Charlie, and I sent Martha the stuff I wrote, her management, the stuff I wrote. And then she was the first one to get back to me. Now, when I never sent my other stuff to Charlie, I never sent it. I just wrote it for him, but I never sent it to him, because I got preoccupied with Martha when she returned my call, and she's like, I don't know who you are. She said, but the A&R people at RCA have been looking for songs for me for years, and we haven't found the right combination of whatever. She said, but your demos are exactly what we're looking for.
Wow.
Could you come to New York and record them? And I called Larry, the guy who had recorded all my demos in Kansas. I said, Are you ready to go to New York?
Oh, goodness.
And he's like, yeah. And so we went to New York, and I did 5 songs on Martha Wash's debut album.
Now, just before you get into that, the publishing part of the music industry, did you know much about that?
I knew that I dodged a bullet in getting dropped with J. King, because I know because that horrific publishing deal that I signed would have been bad, and I would have been tied up for years had I not got dropped, and that thing all went away. So when I did Martha Wash, I started fresh, brand new, clean slate. It was just me.
So because you've sent your stuff to RCA to her, and she said, yeah, we want it. Did you then have to get your own publishing set up so you
Yeah,
knew about
for
doing that?
sure. Absolutely. And the first thing I didn't do a publishing deal right away because I wanted to see what her records were going to do. So I just basically just affiliated myself with BMI at that time, BMI, and just waited to see what would happen with her records. I had a #1 dance record out of it called "Give It to You."
Okay.
Yeah, and that was cool. And they did a video, and that was cool. But it just never, it didn't pop off like her CNC stuff.
Yeah.
And so it kind of fizzled out. But I did some great songs on there. There's a ballad on there. People don't really get to hear Martha doing the ballads very often because she's always belting out the dance tunes.
Yeah.
This ballad is called "Now That You're Gone." Check that out.
Wow.
I did it in the style of George Michael's "Careless Whisper."
Okay. Wow.
Check you out. So you don't know that? You're supposed to know that.
No, well, as I said, we always focus on the R&B stuff you did, and I think we later know that you're into the house, but to know that you
this is R&B, pure R&B. That's the record. What I'm telling you is an R&B record. It's not a dance record at all.
Yeah,
an R&B ballad, if you will. And I did a little R&B mid-tempo funk thing on her called "Things We Do for Love." Just check out Martha Wash's debut album.
Yeah,
and check me out on there. So that came and went, and then but while we were doing it, the A&R guy, Kenny Ortiz, who's the man who found SWV, and Pharrell and the Neptunes, he was telling me, "Hey man, I got these girls. I can't get them arrested. I can't get them signed, man. I can't get them a deal." And this at the time when TLC had changed up their image and was now crazy, sexy, cool. They were incredible. They went from that tomboy stuff to the hot women, right?
Yeah.
So, but SWV's look was kind of tomboyish and still hanging on to the Timbos and Jersey. They were still kind of like Mary J-ing it out. You feel me?
Yeah.
Because it was 1991. So he said, "I can't get these girls arrested." But Kenny heard my voice and heard me singing and was like, "Yo, you are the guy that needs to work with these girls." And I just kind of shined him on. I was like, "Man, sign me as an artist. How about that?" So I really wasn't letting him hear records on it at all, really. But then one day he was like, "Yo, man, listen to these girls." And so he sent me a FedEx, a cassette of them. And I remember hearing Coco's voice for the first time. And I was like, "Oh shit, like, wait a minute. This is some shit right here. I can work with this voice." She was kind of all over the place, and you could tell she wasn't being produced very well by whoever was producing her. She would be sharp on all these notes, and then they would just leave it. I was like, why did they leave that? But so I was like, the first thing I thought was, I'm going to have to get her under control. But I think under control, she's going to be amazing. That's the first thing I thought. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, you know what? I'll do it. Why not? Because they don't have a deal. If I get them a deal, I'll be the guy that's the main sound of these girls if I establish the sound. So that was my mindset going into it. Was like, well, they don't have a deal, and he's telling me that I can kind of have control over what I'm doing, so I'm going to do it. So I had this song called "Right Here," which I gave them that. I did not give him "Weak" on purpose because I was still trying to get that on Charlie Wilson. So I did not play "Weak" for him at all. And we started recording. And then through a twist of fate, Kenny Ortiz was at a meeting in LA. And remember I told you I worked for J. King in Sacramento, right? Yeah. Well, there was this guy that used to work there. He was the janitor, and he would clean up the building and shit. So he had stolen a tape that had my demo of "Weak" on it, me singing "Weak," the whole thing.
He stole it. Okay.
Stole the tape. And so this particular day, Kenny is at the office in LA, and he's walking through, and he hears "Weak." And he never heard that before, but he heard my voice.
He knew it was you.
Because he knew my voice because of the Martha Wash demos. I did all the demos. Yeah. So he's like, and he went over to this guy, Jeff, who used to be a janitor at J. King's thing, but now is an A&R guy at RCA.
What?
Yes. He'd come up in the ranks. And so he goes, "Hold on, man. That sounds like Brian Alexander Morgan." And Jeff was like, "That is Brian Alexander Morgan." So he's like, "What is this?" And so Kenny called me. He's like, "Yo, man, that's fucked up. You've been holding out on me. You know I'm trying to get these girls signed. Why haven't you played me this song? This is insane." I said, "Bro, because I'm trying to get that on Charlie Wilson, or I want to do it on myself. I'm not really trying to give that song away." He's like, "Brian, please, you got to come back to mix a couple more Martha records. Can I just pay you to record that song. And I gave in and I said, all right, man. So I recorded it, and that's the song that got them the record deal with RCA.
Wow, but so he was there. He couldn't get them to deem that he worked there. He had to.
They weren't seeing it in as far as the imaging and the overall thing. Plus, they didn't have the songs yet. So now all of a sudden they got Right Here and Weak after I recorded it. Now they got some songs that showcase what she's all about.
Okay.
That cinched the deal.
So
that's how SWV started.
So, and I think that the thing is that so what year was it that they auditioned to get the deal at RCA?
Well, they never auditioned with me.
No.
I think they had tried to get the deal. Probably like 91. It had to be like 90, 91, somewhere around in there.
So it's just Mary that's out in that image. I mean, because 93 is when all the Jade and all the other groups. So there wasn't that many girl groups.
Jade is like 94. Jade is 94.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it wasn't a case where all these other
only
groups
only TLC and En Vogue were like popping.
Yeah, but they were very different types of En Vogue was
totally different. So Mary J would be the only. You're right. Mary J would be their only measure of hip hop and soul for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Hip hop soul was Mary J, and that was the only standard at that moment. Absolutely.
I can see why there might have been a pushback on. Look, that's not what's out there right now. So
right, because TLC was blowing the hell up with their new sound and their new look, and it was absolutely gorgeous. You know, they were like women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. Long story short, did that, and then I just started writing directly for them, and that's how I wrote "I'm So Into You."
Yeah. So the thing about that debut album was that I looked, and you did about 9. Out of the 14 songs, you did about 9 of them on it.
I think it's 7. But yeah.
Okay.
With a bonus cut. Yeah.
Oh, the bonus one that took it. There was a bonus one in there. But for you at that point in time when you're writing for them, did you think, man, they're taking my spot? Did you? Because you know you're.
No, because I didn't have a spot. So at this point, I'm like, okay, the Martha stuff didn't work like I thought it was going to. Now I'm just going to go full on into developing this group with the voice that I had in my hands. It was an amazing voice to work with Coco, and then the girls themselves with their blend, it was awesome. When they sang together, they sound just like on the record. So it's like, this is easy. This is like easy. So that's kind of what happened. We just started working, and then they came to Sacramento, and that helped a lot because then I was in my own element. I wasn't in New York.
Yeah.
When I wrote "I'm So Into You," we recorded it in Sacramento even. So, and then we went back and recorded Week I recorded in New York and maybe Right Here. But I'm So Into You, and I think, what else? A couple other things got recorded in Sacramento. By the time we did You're Always on My Mind, we were back in New York again.
So when you did, so what was influencing the sound then? Because if you're talking about 91 or so, you had Uptown with Jodeci, Mary, with that type of sound. I think Teddy had sort of moved away from, I think, the Guy album. He was doing Michael Jackson stuff. So there seemed to have been a sort of I think Uptown was taking over with their hip hop soul and stuff with Kenny Green and intro.
Mm-hmm.
What was influencing the type of, not the writing, but the production of what you were doing for SWV?
At that time, I just decided I wanted to create my own sound and stop copying those types of sounds. And that's how you got I'm So Into You. The most un-New Jack Swing record ever. It's straight 16s. It's just none of that at all. Okay? I took all that. I was like, I'm going to do me. So that, and then all my ballads, I wanted them to sound like me. So anything which opens the album is a shot across the bow saying there's a new sound happening. And it's not those other things. It's its own thing. It's a Midwest thing. It's not an East Coast thing. It's a Midwest boy. Wow.
Yeah.
That comes from Stevie and Charlie and all that stuff. And so, but I love, and right here, the first right here is the last bastion of that. That's kind of New Jack-ish.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But I knew that once they came to me and was in my home turf, I was trying to do me. I wasn't concerned with what was happening on the radio at that time. Because I was
also, you were in the Bay Area where Foster McLaren had their own influence with the
Yeah.
Tonys
And well,
and
yeah,
In Vogue.
sure.
So they, the Tonys had, I think is it the Carnival one that was somewhat New Jackish? So
Yeah.
was there not a sense of, okay, are we leaning from
Not
that?
so ever. Those are my friends, by the way. So I was certainly not going to be. And plus, I came in the door through that. I certainly wasn't going to go back. That would be like going backwards to me because I came in through Club Nouveau and that whole thing. So I was definitely trying to do a new thing when I did my thing at that point. That's 4 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just my time to do me is to be the best way for me to describe it. And that's exactly what it sounds like. You know,
At the time that you did that, where you finished the album, did you think this is going to be a smash, or what was your thoughts? Could you tell? And I
no, no, not at all. I didn't like the album cover. I didn't like the logo. I was like, and then I like the first video was cool, but I hated the videos to Week was horrible. I was like, why are they trying to sabotage my girls? This is bad. But you know what? The power of the songs themselves saved them and literally took them into the stratosphere. When I'm So Into You broke, I think that was really, really like a shot across the bow to the whole industry. Like it's a new girl in town, some new girls in town, and they have whole different styles and voices it's their own thing.
Mm.
And we certainly knew it wasn't Mary, and they knew it wasn't In Vogue, and they damn sure knew it wasn't TLC. So it was like, who is this?
Yeah.
You know, when she said, "Boy, there you go," it was like, whoa, what's going on? You
Yeah.
feel me? And so, and I wrote all that, like, that's just like right out of my head into her voice. That was the beautiful thing about the relationship. It was like, I could sing it and she could sing it back to me.
Yeah.
Verbatim. So that was how it worked. You know what I mean? It was like channeling really for me and Coco. I would do it as it was supposed to be done. She could do it and mimic it, and that's it. That's how it worked. On Week, all of them. She sang every single ad lib on my demo. I did all the ad libs the way that they were supposed to be on the demo.
Wow.
There's no improv.
Now, as much as I bought all their albums, SWV, I think one of the things that I couldn't that I always wrestled with was you have a group of three girls who I'm assume both Lily and Taj sang when they were young, but I didn't understand how come it was just the one singer and that sense of Diana Ross and the Supremes, and how that might have not allowed the others to have a balance. From when you were working with them, was it a sense of Coco has the best voice, I'm just going to focus on them, and what was? Did you have any say in that, or what was the case?
That didn't happen till later, a little later, maybe on the second album when they wanted to have more of a voice, which I totally understand. But for me, I'm from the old school. I'm like, you ride the horse that won the race, and you know, I mean, you don't change what's working, so you can add to it. It's fine. They want to sing joints, and they did on the second album. They did, but they also made the fatal mistake of not releasing my singles from the second album. So that's like changing horses in the middle of the race.
Yeah,
and it hurt them.
No, but we'll go to the second album because the debut album sold 3 million.
Mm-hmm.
With all your songs, you do about 4 in a second. It goes on your platinum, so there was a big change. But I wanted to go when you were recording the first album. You've got Coco. You're telling me she was taking everything that you were giving. Mm-hmm. Did you not consider, I wonder if Lily and Taj might not feel left out if I don't give them some verses and allow them to.
Well, that presumes that that's what. Here, let me say it this way. I'm trying to say this diplomatically.
Okay.
When you come into a scenario where one girl sounds like that, the lead, and then the other two sound not like that, and their own thing, but it's not like they can't sing, but their job is to do the backgrounds and sound like three. It's called sisters with voices. So so to me, I told Lily this recently. Those backgrounds are as important to the records as the leads, if you really think about it. Every single song of mine is the background arrangements that people love to sing. You don't have Week without the backgrounds.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, so those backgrounds are as integral to the song as the leads. So I think it's a misconception that people think you just have to be doing the lead. No. When they said, so far, all that blow over my, with the thing, all that, hello, that matters. That's that shit. And then on Weak, come on. Weak, I lose control. Every single thing about Weak is all about the backgrounds. Yeah. So there's never not them singing. They're all singing. You feel me? Yeah. She just has the voice that does the verses. But the backgrounds are everything. When you talk about my joints, the backgrounds are everything. Love will be right. That's all of them. Yeah. Be right here. Come on, man. Like, you feel me? Every song. So I had to even tell them themselves, don't sell yourself short about how important those backgrounds are. Because when every little girl group or people that try to go karaoke your joints, what do? Or in the audiences at the shows, everybody's singing them backgrounds, homie. They like the lead, but everybody's still singing them backgrounds too. Ooh, what? On the end of, what am I supposed to do? Come on, man. Yeah. Anything you wanna do. Where isn't there backgrounds? You feel me?
Yeah.
So they really are singing all the way through on all my shit, really, is what I'm trying to tell you.
No, and you've explained it in a way that most producers and writers don't do, because it gives it, it validates, because as I said, a lot of us would be looking at it and thinking, oh man, it's unfair that you have one main singer. But the way you've explained it, because of course most of us we might not remember all the vocal, the lead, the songs, but we know the chorus. We'll all jump in at the chorus and stuff. But the way you've been,
right. Think of it this way: Mary and Flo could sing; they were cool. But it's Diana's tone that made "Baby Love" be the smash, or "Come See About Me," or all those records. So, but the backgrounds are still important to the record. Like, you don't have the record without them. Yeah. You take the backgrounds away, and you do not have the Supremes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I wonder how diplomatic you were because you sold it really well, and I'm not even a singer, but I wonder when and I saw the New Edition story and Ralph singing, and everyone was like, "Man, what about us?" Did you manage to give them a sense of value that they could understand that? Okay, Coco's singing it, and they don't feel during those early days.
I just don't buy into the concept of that you should be singing it, because you became a success with her singing. So why would you change that in the middle of it? Now you can, like I said, you can add to it. You can sing some things on the record like Jermaine did on the Jackson 5 joints, sure. But it's still a Michael show. Everybody knows that. Or Jackie sang some shit. This is not new. Like when you have a hit voice, what are you trying to do? Fuck up your money? No. You let that voice do what it does, because that's what connected with the audience. You don't change that and like have some whole other voice doing the stuff all of a sudden. But now if you do, fine. Make sure the joint is cold. Make sure it's badass. Faith Evans did a very nice job with Lily on the second album. Taj did a very nice job on her songs. They sound amazing, but you still made your money with that other voice, and you can never ever act like that's not the case.
Yeah. And that's really good about how you've explained it, because we can probably see how some of the other groups who try to switch it up kind of fell short in their second and third album when they thought, oh, let's spread the wealth around. They didn't realize that they take away the winning formula. And
let me say it like this: unless you started that way. Good example: Sly and the Family Stone. All their hits, everybody's doing a part. Yeah. You can make it if you try. Stand. You got Freddie doing a piece, Larry Graham doing a piece, Sly Stone doing a piece. That is the sound of Sing a Simple Song. That is the sound of Dance to the Music. So when people hear them, they expect to hear all those different voices, because that's what the hit record became. But if you have to come in the door with that. You don't come in the door with one voice and then all of a sudden expect the audience to just accept all these other voices. That's not what they bought. The people are buying these records and paying money for these records. So you got to give them what they want. So a lot of it has to do with, when did it become wait a minute. We became successful with this particular thing. Now all of a sudden we're going to change it for what reason?
Yeah.
Because egos and just because you want to be in the spotlight, that's not what the customer is buying.
Yeah.
They're buying what we sold them. Now you want to change the formula to what we sold them. I don't think so. But now you can keep the formula and create additional things to add to that formula. But what you don't do is change that formula.
And then, you know, that's really very insightful and very educational, because I can understand why Boyz II Men all started to sing, and so we got used to that. But
Right.
you know, and so the album starts to, you know, the singles are going up, it's going platinum, double platinum. What are you thinking when you're seeing this happen? Are you thinking, now I can get a deal, or what's?
Well, you know what? I was thinking, I need an accountant and I need a house. I went straight to I got to build a studio. That's my mind goes right back to work. I wanted to build a very comfortable studio to work in and do the next record and do that. And so I did. I got a house. I built a studio in it. Layla Hathaway came to work with me that year, 94 and 90. Usher came to the house in 94. So I did a song called Let Me Love You on Layla Hathaway, which I love. And Usher, I did a song called Crazy, which I love. So, and then we just kept going. And then I went right into the second album from that in 95.
So at this point, had you parked the idea of becoming a solo recording artist?
No. As a matter of fact, I was completely not feeling that after I saw what the girls went through on the road. It was not easy, man. Like, first of all, when the Right Here was out, the very first one, it was tough because that wasn't blowing up like we thought it would. And they had some rough markets to deal with. People were not very nice. You know what I mean? It was very working all those places all around the country, flying all around the country. I didn't want to do any of that. So I was like, and then plus I could do my thing at the house and still make the money. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it was easy. I very much slid into producer very comfortably.
Okay.
I was not thinking about trying to be an artist, and everybody wanted me to be. When they heard Always on My Mind, they couldn't understand why I wasn't out there trying to be an artist.
Yeah.
And I get that, but mentally, I wasn't trying to be at that time. I was just comfortable being the producer writer
now,
who happened to sing.
Who could sing? Yeah. Now I think there's my biggest, you know, when I grew up, I had Michael Jackson, Steven Spielberg, and Teddy Riley. Those are my three. Anything that they did, I would buy, watch, doesn't matter.
So you put Steven Spielberg in that? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think because any movie he came out with in the 80s and the 90s, I'd watch.
That was your can't lose. That's your can't lose.
Those are my three sort of, Spielberg, Michael Jackson, and Teddy Riley.
Got it.
And so when I heard the I'm So Into You remix that came out with his name and the All-Star one, I was like, wow, I could, you know, hit the rap and the check one, check two, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I interviewed Sprague, one of his former producers, talking about the track. I think I wanted to go first. When the remix hit the radio, did that have an impact on the album sales? The actual particular remix?
No.
Okay.
I'm So Into You was a gold single before they ever did that. And that album was a gold album before they ever did that. Okay. So I'm So Into You literally put them on the map, and everything else that happened after that was just that. And after that, but as far as impact with that remix, that was really an East Coast thing. We had already, I felt like we had already broke the spell across the country as far as New Jack Swing goes. I had finally broke the spell of that particular sound with I'm So Into You. So people really were digging that it was different. And so, and I know that it affected the culture because Jimmy Jam told me that when they went back into the studio after having done the very hard swinging Rhythm Nation album, you know, that was super tight. Everything was super tight, right?
Yeah.
But Pete, when they went in to do the next album, Jimmy Jam told me, he said he sat them down and they played the SWV It's About Time album, and particularly listened to I'm So Into You. And so when they went back to give Janet some stuff, my boys, the Avila brothers, Bobby Ross Avila and his brother, they gave her That's the Way Love Goes. You know why? Okay. Because it was a chop, and because I had chopped those drums. The difference between me and Teddy was that I was chopping my stuff up like hip hop and playing my keys and chopping them some of my own chops and my keys. So I was doing way more of a hip hop approach than a straight ahead R&B or New Jack Swing approach. Mine was kind of come from a hip hop perspective and then making my keys fit into that.
Yeah.
but it was still my original keys. But I would add, you know, samples and chops. That's what the look at I'm So Into You. It's like a lot of little chops and things. The hi-hat, all that is all samples and chops. So it made Jimmy and Terry and their producers go, hey, why not try a samples and chop thing on Janet? And that's how you get that that, you know, that guitar jazz sample. That's the way love. Now all of a sudden she got a whole new sound. Why? Because it's completely not New Jack Swing. It's a whole new thing, and it was a more open, laid back, groovy, sample based and chopped drum sounding thing that they're using in Impeach the President. The drums from Impeach the President, very brilliantly. And then, by the way, Come and Talk to Me, same drums, effectively. Come and Talk, the remix, Puffy's remix.
Okay.
So we're just in a new thing. All of a sudden, in a new thing.
Yeah, it because by that time that the album came out, the sound had changed. You know, Devante with his type of the Jodeci stuff. It was a variety. It was different, and I think the mimicking of the New Jack. Because if it
had ran its course.
It had definitely run its course. So it was really good and refreshing, because you had the SWV, you had Jade coming up with their stuff, and you had all the different sounds that really define an era and stuff. For you, then, you know, you're seeing them when they start to blow up, especially when they come out with Weak. Are you saying, did you ever think, I wish it was still me singing this? Or did you say,
no, never. I never wish that, because I really like Always on My Mind, because it was natural. It was organic. The way it happened, I felt my contribution as far as singing goes is right where it's supposed to be on Always on My Mind. It's almost like when I hear singers talk about it, man, it gives me the chills, because people talk about it like with such reverence. Like they're like, yo, my whole shit, I was basing it on trying to do them runs you did, son. You know, it's like, you know, it's a lot of, like, I feel so good when I hear people say that little part. You know, I never thought I'd find someone. They're like, that little piece meant so much to so many people. And I was like, okay, then I did my job.
Because it wasn't, you know, we didn't get that much of a, you know, the producers doing a little part on
absolutely not, right? Unless it was Babyface, right?
Yeah. I mean, Babyface did it later,
or R. Kelly.
So did you do that before he did the Aaliyah stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. So as I said,
R. Kelly bit me extremely on. He bit anything. My song, Anything. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number is basically the chords to Anything. Listen to it. Go check it out. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number is dead on Anything. And I'll tell you another secret that he ripped him, but he did it brilliantly, though. I gave him props for this. Back and Forth is I'm So Into You, but he flipped it. So listen to the elements of I'm So Into You. You got my motif is that dun, 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 you know that. What does he do in the background? Let me see you go. Dun, 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 dun. Got that in there, right? And then he's got, but the drums to Back and Forth. He took my break from the breakdown and I'm So Into You, where I go, you're not, boom, you're not mine. He took that drum part and made Back and Forth, because it's dum 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 stop, dum 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 dum. And if you hear the keys, it's dun, 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 keeping the motif like that. You know, I'm So Into You is the whole motif is dun, 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 right? So he took two elements and changed them around. He was clever to take the drums from the breakdown. Because that breakdown is everything, and I'm So Into You, right? People wait for that. Like when you get to because the beat is so straight, like boom, got, boom, boom, got. But all of a sudden on that breakdown is boom, got, boom, boom, 808 comes in and shit. R. Kelly was smart to take that, to do the beat from Back and Forth and make it like that break, and that's exactly what it is. Do, you know, dun, 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 right? But and then the hook, and one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm so into you is the melody. Back and forth. Ba, 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 ba. Come on, man.
Did you ever say to him, dude, what are you doing? Get my lawyers on?
When he did Anything, we had to laugh about that one. I was like, bro, come on, bro. Listen to the chorus to Anything, and then listen to the chorus to Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. It's just the exact same chords. It's fucking ridiculous.
But was it a change enough to
I wasn't tripping. I was in my own lane. I was doing my thing. I wasn't worried about it. Mm-mm.
Did you ever get a confession? Did he ever say, yeah? Oh.
He knew. I mean, I think it was. I looked at it as more of a compliment because he was on fire at the time himself. So for him to be doing something that I was doing, it was a compliment to me. Yeah. Imitation is a very sincere form of flattery. So.
You're right. I mean, there's so many people who were imitating the New Jack stuff, and so to have a new sound. So you've told me that Jimmy and Terry were telling you that, we listen to stuff, and
yes.
we're pros. We're big enough in the group to know how to be influenced by what you've done, but not.
And they had influenced me so long before that. They had influenced me as the kid in Kansas, listening to Sherelle, listening to Alexander O'Neal, listening to SOS Band. So how I layer my keys, I got all from Jimmy. And I tell him that to this day, like, bro, your whole style of layering keys is what I do. That's why you're always on my mind, sounds so lush. That's why anything sounds so sexy and deep. I learned my lessons well from Jimmy, listening to his key. And that's why my bass lines are very, very prominent. Jimmy Jam is one of the dopest, coldest keyboard bass line playing people ever on the planet. Yeah. When you listen to that stuff is crazy. So, and then you got Let's Wait a While. That's a mood. That's a vibe. Funny How Time Flies. Are you kidding me? So you better believe anything takes its cues from that.
Yeah.
You see, sonically. So I love it because it's us listening to each other, kind of taking bits and then incorporating it into your thing, not just biting it wholeheartedly. Like take a bit and do your thing, flip it. Come on, flip it, son. With anything and AJ Nothing But a Number, I felt like he was lazy on that one. He didn't really flip it. Now back and forth was genius how he flipped it. I could hear through what he was taking from me, but nobody else could, and that's when you flipped it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so here you are. I mean, you're riding high off the first album. It's triple platinum. I mean, and I'm sure by this time you've got your nice publishing stuff. Did you then see the benefits of being a writer behind the scenes as compared to an artist that gets signed and always owes a record label? No matter
Absolutely. What. Are you what? Of course. I saw that benefit right away, and they did too. And that's what caused the tension between them and them. The management tried to set them up kind of against me. Like, okay, this next album, Brian made all the money on that last album. We ain't gonna let that happen again. Type of energy. Yeah. And that's what happened. So that's why they call an album A New Beginning. It's not so subtle smack in the face. So, and I got 5 songs on there, and none of them were singles. Just think about that.
So the question I had then is that you've done the first. It blows up. That it's very clear how the publishing and everything works, and every '90s artist would tell you that, man, we got, and Dawn Robinson, when I interviewed her, 2 cents per girl per record, so they're selling 10, 20 million, but they're only getting 2 cents. So. It wasn't. You didn't sign them to RCA. You weren't there, but you didn't sign a production deal with them. So, how is it that they could paint you as the villain when you were just doing your parts?
Because they were young, and I was too, and nobody really sits you down at that stage and tells you the mechanics of it all. You kind of figure it out as you go, and then you realize, oh man, because like even me. As much money as I was making, it still wasn't a good publishing deal. I did a horrible co-publishing deal that I never should have done. I should have never done a publishing deal at all. I should have just kept all my publishing and not ever done one. But I didn't know that, because what publishing deals do is just take your own money and give it back to you.
But was that different because you said you signed with BMI first? Was that? Well,
you don't really sign with BMI. All they do is agree to collect your royalties around the world.
So that would have been better. So it would have been better if you kept them or ASTAC or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Because then I would have got 100% of all my shit, as opposed to when you sign a publishing deal, you're giving up sometimes 20, sometimes 30, 40, 50% of your of your rights.
And all they do is say, okay, let's give you some money in advance.
Yeah, a little advance money, right? And it's bullshit because I think I got like 300,000 on that first one, and I'm sure I made that back in a couple of months, based on what those records were doing. So like, it's just a joke, because then all of a sudden the money they start making off of you has well surpassed what they gave you, and they gave it back to you from your own thing from your own pipeline. It's not like they gave you anything. They gave you 300,000 of what you was about to already have anyway.
So what is the, because what is the benefit of signing a publishing deal, unless in some cases where you're almost forced to sign it because you're signing a record deal? But if you had the opportunity, why do people go and sign publishing deals?
Because they want that right now money, as opposed to here's how it goes. When Week started blowing up on the charts and was like, oh my God, it's a gold single. Oh my God, it's about to go platinum. And then it went platinum. That's when they start swarming like vultures. All the publishers start swarming. We got one. And they swoop in and they entice you with a number because you ain't seen that money yet. You haven't seen the paper yet. You haven't seen it yet. They come in before you see the paper. That's the key. You haven't seen a dime of it yet. You got some production money. Yeah, you got paid whatever your fee was to produce it. That's 40, 50, 20, 30, whatever grand. But you ain't seen 400,000 at one time. And they know that, especially with young Black people who have lived lives of poverty usually.
Yeah.
So you come in swooping in with a check talking about 400,000. That sounds pretty cool. And you want to buy that house, and you want to buy that car. So that's how they get you. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't do that, not only do you get the 400,000 they're dangling in front of you like a carrot, but you get everything else that's coming. But if you sign it, they give you that 400,000, and then you make $1 million. Then they get to hold that and give you the 400,000, and now they got the $1 million based on everything else you're doing. So you just gave your money away, and now you got to fight to get it back.
Oh, so there's a times when that can end and say, okay, we've done our time.
Yeah, and that's the key, the time. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's usually like 30 years.
Wow.
Okay, so you're signing away decades worth of earnings for one little piece of change. It makes no sense whatsoever. If you never do it, then you don't have that problem. And if your record's still successful, you're going to get paid all the money instead of giving somebody else half the money.
Yeah.
In order to get, it's just like getting a loan in advance of your own shit is all it is.
Yeah, but when you get a loan, you pay it back, and that's it. They don't keep then saying, well, you've made it.
And now you know what a publishing deal is. There you go. Bingo. You see the incentive for them to do that, and then they try to own it for as long as you're alive.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so here you are, because I looked at the numbers. I saw It's About Time, 3 million. Mm-hmm. You know, you do 80% of the album. You do 4 tracks out of 17, because I know by the mid 90s people were doing 17, 20 tracks and interludes, but you only did 4.
On It's About Time I did 6 tracks.
It's About Time. I went and saw that either writing or producing.
Let's go through them. Let's go through them. Watch this. Week. We're going to count. Week.
Yeah.
I Was Into You. Think You're Gonna Like It. Always on My Mind. Right Here. And one more. That's What I Need. 6. And actually it's 7, because I did co-produced and co-wrote, produced. It's Sisters of Voices in the House. So really it's 7, but 6 of my own compositions. And then a 7th is a co-write.
7 is a co-write. But okay, I'm just looking, because when I looked at it, I actually thought it had you.
Did you catch that? Did I name them all? I got them, didn't I?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, because I just had the numbers here, but let me peek here, because I thought I saw you do 8, and I think the 9th one. Okay, here it is, right here. So
it's really 6, and then 7 with
Anything I'm serving to you right here.
Oh, I forgot anything. No, it is. It's 8.
Yeah.
It is 8.
Yeah, you always on my mind.
It's 8. I forgot anything. I always forget anything. Yeah, it is. It is. It's 8. It's 8.
Yeah, you did 8, and then you had the and so then there was the week a cappella, which was out of the 14, which was sort of 14 tracks. The week a cappella.
8 solid joints. 8 solid joints. Yes.
Yeah. Then you did on the album. You had SWV in the House.
Right. That's a co-write.
Okay, with Coco, I think. Yeah, but as I said, you did. I did. That's why I said 8, 9. So yeah, so you did Out of the Soul stuff. They're coming with the New Beginning. did they not want to be in the studio with you anymore? They're thinking, man, you made all the money, look at your big house, and we're still living. And they were, was it?
No, because no, they knew better than that because they couldn't just go in there. Once you establish a sound, you can't not use the sound. But what they were trying to do was show me that we don't need you. Like, so that's why you got them All-Star doing it. But thank God All-Star and I are friends. And he was as happy to make money off my songs as anything. He'll tell you right now, I send his kids to college off of the remix, the Anything remix and the and Right Here Human Nature. He's done very well. And he got a big deal, his own production deal based on doing those remixes. So we're good. But he did it the right way. He did something dope, and people heard what he could do, and then he parlayed it from there. What they tried to do was stifle me after I'd done something great for them. Yeah. It was like, but hold back, and now we're gonna go to this guy because he was able to deliver on these remixes. Maybe he can deliver, and they did. I love "You're the One" is my joint. I love that joint.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's okay. You're the one. It's
But how do you not put out a Fine Time, right?
Yeah, so as I said, because they went to the Neptunes, they even went to they went
to a lot of people. Troy Taylor.
Yeah. So
Eric Sermon.
Yeah, Faith and Chucky. Yeah.
Faith and Chucky, all friends of mine. We all people. Trust me, we all.
Use your heart.
The writer community is solid. We saw what was happening, but guess what? I knew that I wrote some solid stuff for them. What's it gonna be? Fine Time. That's what I'm here for. Solid tunes. And
but whose decision was it to? Because I thought the label makes a decision as to what singles get released, unless you were big.
Well, they did, but I mean, by that time, I think the management she was fraying relationships within them, the girls themselves. So it was all bad. Like, it was just all bad. Like, so their relationship with me soured when I realized they weren't going to release any of my singles. That's like a slap in the face when I had all the hits from the first album. So I wasn't looking like, like I wanted to be there myself. I started writing for other people. I was like, let me get down with other people. I went and started going with Brandy, and my mind was elsewhere. I wrote Rain for Brandy. It was already about to cut it on her when RCA intervened and asked for it to be on SWV. After they did, now we're on the third album.
Yeah, no, but so could you see when they were recording that the vibe? I mean, the times have changed. But
yeah, they were trying to force them to write on my stuff. Like, it was like literally putting pen and paper in front of them and saying, "Okay, Brian has this idea, but y'all write something on it." And that's not how magic happens. Just let me tell you. That's
were they doing it to the other writers? Is it just Brian that they wanted to?
No, of course they were. Well, they were trying to, but I mean, if you're not really writers like that, it's not going to work, no matter who's producing it. So, but Pharrell didn't need nobody to co-write "Use Your Heart," except him and Chad. So just like I didn't need nobody to co-write my joints. So the whole concept of doing that is the point is that it's a forced, unnatural, unorganic thing to do, just so you can try to be participating in the publishing, and it was a whack vibe. Period. Yeah. Didn't work.
And the album just went platinum. So they pushed it out. It didn't do as well.
Right.
When that was when you could see the sales not going up, what's on your mind? Were you happy? I mean,
what was on my mind at that time? Layla Hathaway, Usher. In everything else that I was working on at that moment, I was like, I can't put my eggs all in that one basket. I learned that, and I was glad I did learn that, because I was like, yo, even if Usher or Layla don't sell records, I'm still getting paid to produce these records. So that was my bread and butter, is just working, period. You never know what the records are going to really do. Yeah. So if you could just keep working, this is the point.
Yeah.
I'm still working now, baby, all these years later.
No, we're going to get that. But by the third album, though, you releasing Tension, you only had Rain, and I was like, wow, what's and
I didn't want to be on there. I did not want to be on that album at all. They kind of begged me to put that on there, because like I said, it was going to be for Brandy, and we were already cutting it, and I had gotten paid to do it on Brandy from Brandy's label.
Wow.
It got intercepted by Rodney Jerkins, who was in charge of her record at the time. It was the album that Boy Is Mine is on.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just chose to not have it on there. And so I got a call saying, okay, well, we, you know, even though we paid you to write that, because I got a little 4-song writing deal from Sylvia Rohn at that time, at Brandy's label Atlantic. And that was one of the 3 songs I wrote for Brandy. So I literally got paid to write that for her. And then we started to cut it in New York at P. Diddy's studio. And then we got shut down the next day, like, yo, it's a no-go. Rodney's, we're not going to use it. And so RCA called, and they already knew. They were like, please, we can't have a whole album without Brian Alexander Morgan on there. Can we please get this tune? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll cut it. And so that's how we ended up cutting Rain.
But how was it in the studio after all this? Was it tension in the studio with?
Isn't it ironic the album is called Release Some Tension? It was tension all over the place, man. I think, and that's, you know what? The funny thing is, Coco recorded her thing completely and utterly separate from them on that. So I don't know what. I think Coco had been pissed off at Missy or something. Like they had just recorded "Can We?"
Yeah.
For that, yeah, with Timbaland and Miss, and something had happened because I remember that Missy invited me to her video shoot, to the video for "I Can't Stand the Rain," her first single. So, but she said, only bring Taj and Lily. I was like, what? She said, yeah, only bring Taj and Lily because she was gonna let them be in a cameo at the end of the video. If you look at the end of the video, they are. It's a cameo. 702's in there. It's a lot of cameos at the end of that video. So I remember cutting Coco at Right Track Studios one day, and then the next day I cut Taj and Lily's backgrounds to Rain at Electric Lady, Jimi Hendrix studio down in the Village. And then we took a cab over to Missy Elliott's video set to do the Rain. So all this Rain, huh? Check it out.
Goodness. Yeah, that's wow. I mean, but for yourself, I think that, you know, going back, you said Rodney said no, we don't want Brian's track on it. Did he listen to it? I mean, did
he
you?
Loved it. He loved it. He loved it. He loved it. He loved it. I think he just didn't want it. It didn't fit his vision of what he was trying to do on Brandy at the time. Rodney was making a statement with Brandy's album, a Rodney Jerkins Dark Child whole entire statement. He had been given the reins, if you will.
Okay.
So he had power to say yay or nay.
Wow.
And he just, you know, kind of.
It wasn't anything personal. It was more like, look, this is what I'm trying to do and stuff.
I don't know. I wasn't in his mind, but I know this. He didn't want it on there because it wasn't a Rodney Jerkins joint. So if it's not on there, then everybody's talking about everything else that ain't, you know, I'm not a factor. He made me a non-factor, put it that way. Okay. And it was, you know, at the time I was slightly devastated because I really loved Brandy and I wanted her to sing that. But it was the best thing that ever happened because Coco, now, after that energy that we had on that second album where it was like not so great in the studio,
yeah,
she came to sing on Rain, baby. That's what she gave me everything. And she even had a cold and she still delivered. And she was a sweetheart on that vocal record. And I remember I just was thinking, wow, she's never been this nice and sweet in the studio before. This is amazing. She gave me the delivery that I wanted. I didn't want it to sound like weak. I didn't want it to sound like any of those old things. I wanted it to be different. Yeah. And her level of sexiness on Rain is still to this day. That's why so many. Have you noticed like it's really a viral thing right now? All these kids and everybody, all these new generations are singing it on TikTok and shit. Man, bro, Rain has never left. And then it came back in the form of Pulling Me Back, a hit record for Tyrese and Chingy. It's out right now on a Rick Ross record right now called Summer Rain. It's crazy. Chris Brown's got a new one dropping in a couple of weeks using Rain. I mean, it ended up being the biggest thing. I think it's bigger than Weak in a lot of ways for me because it keeps coming back over and over and over. Pulling Me Back was a top 10 hip hop record in 2008. So, you know, I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. Or 2006, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's because in the 90s there was no one could take away from the 70s or the 80s, but in the 90s there was a lot of very distinct sounds and songs, and you guys were given breathing space to write good stuff. The radios were willing to play it, And I guess I'm trying to understand what are your thoughts as a producer and writer with how the R&B and the music market is today.
So you mean comparatively, like what's the market difference?
Yeah, because back in those days, I mean, you're getting, Elektra giving you a 4 song deal. You're
Oh, I see.
doing albums. The labels were investing in songwriters and
Mm.
producers to do stuff. But is there a market for R? Are they paying money for R&B records to be played?
I think the biggest difference between then and now is that seems like everything is a collaboration now. There's not a single record that's not a collaboration. I'm the last of the 100%ers, like where I did it all. Like I wrote it, produced it, arranged it. That just doesn't happen anymore. Almost like it's almost like a unicorn or something. Doesn't happen anymore.
But then, what about the opportunities to write and get called to by Warner Brothers or Universal or Sony to say, "We've got this artist. We want you to do 5 tracks on their album." Is that happening?
Depends on who you are and depends on what your situation is. But even if that happens, it's generally still in some kind of form of a writer's camp or some kind of crew. Like there's Max Martin and that crew. There's Bruno and his crew. You see what I mean? There's crews of writers now. That seems to be the biggest difference between what I was doing back. And me and R. Kelly were like writing the things and producing them by ourselves.
Yeah. But then does that change though? Because it's not as if you can't write a song by yourself. I can understand if you have a beat maker who can bring in something unique with the beats and stuff. But
Right.
the writing, would that change? I mean, what you wrote.
It did change. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, I think most hit records today get made collectively. I don't know why that's the case. It's just the case. It's just true. Very few records say one person's name. You notice that? Anywhere.
Yeah.
No matter who it is. Even all the way down to Billie Eilish, like it's still her and her brother. It's still 2 people. Or Adele and her guy. That's the most pared down you can get. It's like those intimate ones like that. But generally, it's a few people. And that's the accepted practice today, which is okay, I guess. I like co-writing with people. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I remember interviewing Donnell, and he talked about when Eric Williams from Blackstreet was called in to do Shirley got some tracks for his album, and he was like, "No, I can write and produce my own stuff." But then he learned that by co-writing you could get exposed to a different vibe.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why I like co-writing, because I want to be. Sometimes I get inspired by what another person's way of their process is. It's like I want to hear what their approach.
Yeah,
and I love it. So I'm like right now I got like 6-7 tracks I just sent out to some of my favorite writers, and I'm gonna see what I get back. And then when I get it back, I'll go. And by the way, one of them was Nefertiti. She's amazing. Yeah, I'm excited about what I get back, because then I go, oh, you went there with it. Well, now I hear this. It makes you hear things differently. And that's a good thing. Yeah, yeah.
Now I spent about 2 hours interviewing Nefertiti. So yeah,
dope.
Yeah. We connected. I mean, it was she was a pleasure to talk to, and I wanted to get to where
did my name come up? Did my name come up over there?
Yes, because I did say, because I saw the video and I said, what's going on with you and Brian, because I noticed I saw that the stuff that you were playing. So, but I wanted to see where you are now as to what you're working on, and how, if it involves, I saw you play some tracks with her, but what can we expect from you now?
I'm going to be doing stuff with her as an artist, and we're going to be doing stuff with me and her as writers for other people. Simple as that. Yeah. I'm going to definitely do stuff on her as an artist, and we love to collab on stuff that I might give to other people. Like, for example, the Jasmine Sisters, these girls that I love from here in LA. I'm sure Neff is going to be writing on some of the stuff I'm doing with the Jasmine Sisters.
Okay.
For sure.
Is it that because I've heard her stuff, her vibe and her voice and everything, and is it that there's a style that she's tapped into that you're like, okay, I can add on to this? And
absolutely. Plus her energy, her whole spirit is like she appreciates all the stuff that I come from. Like she's from the Midwest too, so that might be a part of it.
Yeah.
She's from Ohio.
Yeah.
So she gets it. And then she is a student. And I like that. I'm always a student, even still to right now. I'm a student. So I love people who love to learn. I love people who can do what they do and be confident in it, but also still be open.
Yeah.
So she's just just a sweetheart, really. And I love her voice. I love everything about Neff. She's just my girl right there. She's a blessing is what she is.
Yeah.
Because even if I don't like something that she does, she doesn't get bent out of shape. She tries to figure out, well, you know what? Well, how can I make it where something that he does like? Or she'll stand her ground. Oh no, I like that. I'm sticking with that one. But you know, I mean, because that's the level we're on. Like it's on some real shit. Like it's not we don't bullshit each other. That's why it works.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want people fanboying over me, bitch, and feel like they can't tell me yay or nay if they don't like something. I want to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to be like gentle with. I can handle it. You know, like I'm gonna always write some dope shit. Sometimes it might be whack. Let me know.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm gonna do the same thing every time.
I did see you put a post with yourself and then Coco. Were you planning to do?
That's coming out. Yeah, that's coming out in a couple weeks.
What exactly? What are you releasing? Your own?
That's the record. That's a single called "Real Love." Yeah. It's coming in about 4 weeks. We got to set it up, but it's about to drop. I have a whole lot of records that I want to put out this year. That's going to be the lead off of it. I have a whole album called Bam's Rare, Remixed, and Unreleased.
Okay.
I'm taking old stuff and flipping it. I'm putting some new stuff on there that I just want to put out. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of Bam stuff. And I'm getting that out of the way. And then I have a whole nother album I'm doing that I want to do on myself proper. A Brian Alexander Morgan album properly, finally.
Wow. So the first one, is it that you're taking tracks that you produced for other people that you wrote that you want
tracks
to
that I wanted to produce? Okay, remember I told you I wrote four songs for Brandy, right?
Yes.
Well, 3 of them never got cut, and one of them I always wanted Jasmine Sullivan to do. I did another one I wrote for Bruno that I never gave to him. I did another one that I wrote for Babyface that I never gave to him. So stuff like that is just dangling, sitting out here. I'm going to get them cut. Now, whether I can cut them with the actual people or not, we'll see. But either way, those songs still exist, and I want the world to hear them.
Okay. Yeah. In the way that they were intended. So you're not going to do trap music with kind of thing.
No, it depends, because I got some trap stuff too. Like there's certain things that I got a joint that I have. Okay, give an example. I told you I did a song called "Crazy" on Usher.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I reflipped it into a trap thing, and I want Bieber to sing it.
Okay.
See, it's flips of things. Like it's Bam's Rare, Remixed, and Unreleased.
Okay.
Then I got some stuff that I got on SWV that we never released. That was just dope. So I'm doing one of them is like really, really dope. The fans really want it. It's called "What Two Can Do." So I put a snippet of it on the internet a couple of years ago, probably like in 2017, and they've been dying for it ever since. So I'm trying to get that out as well on the same album.
Was that from the first?
It was it was from in the middle after the sessions were done for the second album. Okay. They were done cutting, and this is just something I did on my own at my house, just messing around.
Okay.
But pretty dope because we thought there was going to be a Coca-Cola endorsement thing at this particular moment, so we did a song called "You Can't Front" and another one called "What Two Can Do."
Okay.
Yeah. And so "Real Love" comes from that same time, but I modified it and put myself on it in 2011, and I've just been sitting on it ever since. So that's why that's coming now.
So are we expecting a video? Are we expecting the promotion? What
with Real Love, no. That'll probably be a lyric video only.
Okay.
But the big one, "What You Can Do," that's a secret. I'm trying to do a tribute to them with certain celebrities lip syncing to it.
Okay.
And so I'm working on that now.
Are they going to be in it themselves?
We just talked about that. I might have them in at the very, very end as just a cameo, but it's really a tribute to them from some of their peers.
Okay.
Right? Look at you getting an exclusive. Check you out getting an exclusive. This is an exclusive, baby. You getting that? And I ain't told nobody this one.
But I'd wonder though. People would always wonder: could you go back and write and do a song with them now, would it be
I
the
have several
same?
things coming. Listen, they're gonna be some of the same because it is the same. Some of it's old and you won't even know because I'm flipping it. Like Real Love is a tribute to break beats and records that we love. So like, and I just recently befriended Prince Marky D, who we just lost.
Oh yes, yeah.
So in Real Love, I'm using the keys that he wrote for Real Love for Mary J.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have that in my Real Love, but it's only for in the verses. Then it switches to some whole other thing. So like it's kind of like a DJ record. Real Love makes you feel like a DJ is sitting there cutting in different beats that you know while the vocal is going. It's dope. I wanted it to feel like that. Like I keep switching the beat up underneath you.
Why did we have to wait this long to get stuff from you? Because last year,
Because
2 years, what were you doing?
check this, because in 2011, when I added my part to Real Love, it was just me casually listening back to it. That vocal is from 95. But I didn't like the hook that I wrote in 95. So I took that hook off, and that was the whole SWV. It was them, all three of them. It was called something completely different. The only way I could keep it and make it something new and fresh was to change the hook and make it be a better hook. So I did that, and it's me singing the hook in a vocoder, kind of Teddy Riley style. and then I kept Coco's vocals for the verses, and then it made sense. So it's more of a duet with me singing. It's not even duet. It's Coco singing the verses and me singing the hook is what it is.
Wow.
And it's just cool. And so I decided to flip the track into a break beat type of track because it just seemed appropriate. It's like, I didn't want to do a new production on it. I didn't want to do no trap on it, that's for sure. And I didn't want to have it be the old track that it was. So the only thing I could think of to do to make it be kind of hot was to make it be every break beat that you know and loved. Like not every, but the ones I used, know and love. Like, okay, I told you the verses are Real Love, right?
Yeah.
When you get to the hook, I'm using the drums that make you feel like come and talk to me. You got that for the hook, and then another verse comes in, and it might be now I feel like Bonita Applebum. You feel me from Tribe Called Quest?
Yeah, yeah.
Bro, trust me, this is the DJ hip hop R&B heads record with Coco's vocals that you know and love.
Are we expecting it in April or May or what?
Absolutely, we're gonna expect this bad boy in April. I was waiting on this one final clearance, sample clearance, and we're ready to roll. The record, it's been ready to roll for like months.
Okay.
But we had to get this one sample clearance hurdle we're getting over, and we'll be rocking.
Okay, so that you don't get hit with $1 million.
Right. We want to be able to play it properly. Yes.
Yeah.
I've sent it to certain DJ friends of mine, and they have it and are ready to start playing it in their mixes right now. Like several of them that I respect, and they're gonna get it on. They're gonna start putting it on their playlists and stuff. So It's just exciting. Did you see the graphic for it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, the roads. Yeah. And Bam and Coco, and I'm thinking, what's going on? So I think that would be exciting. And in fact, I will pinch the graphic for it to let people know to
Please
expect.
do. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll tell you, and I'll keep you posted on when it's really actually gonna drop.
Yeah,
it's coming. That'll be available for purchase.
Okay, not streaming because
streaming all of it. We're gonna be on all the platforms, and I'm trying to get that bad boy on the Sirius XMs and the cool terrestrial stations that still rock, those formats like that.
Yeah, a hot track will always get its way out there. I always end my interviews by asking my guests that if you were stuck in an elevator and you were told, look, it's going to take about 2 or 3 hours to get you out, what movie would you request to watch?
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably one of my favorite. I have 2 favorite movies that really get me. One of them is called Sankofa.
Oh, never heard of that.
Because that's brilliant. And the other one is Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Oh, okay. The Sidney Poitier, no, not the Bernie Mac one.
Absolutely. The Captain Heffron. Yeah, because look where we are right now. And see how much that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But don't close me out without talking about my Drake and my Khalid.
The
records that I have on them. Like I hooked up with Drake. I'm on the Views album with a song called 9. Did you not know that?
No.
Yeah. I'm on Drake's album called Views with an original production and a song called 9. Check that out. And then before that, that was 2017. 2015, I did the title track of Faith Evans' album called Incomparable. Did you know that?
I didn't even know I was surprised to find out she's still making music.
Yeah, so that's the record. Check that out. And I flipped a little D-Train style thing on that, the title track of that's called Incomparable. 2015, another record I did on Tamar Braxton called Never. It's a hot one on Tamar. Original, but I flipped a sample from Patty Austin. Let's see. And then Khalid in 2018, On the Way. You know that record? Outside on the outside, I'll be on the way. That's me with 1985 producing, and I'm doing the keys.
Wow.
And I wrote the music. So yeah, that's all my latest. And then Drake in 2017. So, and then a little work with Kanye. They flipped Rain and Week for the gospel Sunday service thing. And that's crazy.
So are you still getting calls? Because
Kanye called. I would call that a call.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one.
And Drake, people, 40 hit me up. That's how I got up on the Views album. And then 1985, Drake, one of Drake's producers, called me for the Khalid record. So I would say, yeah. And then the A&Rs are still hitting me up too. So yeah, absolutely. So you didn't know none of those records, huh?
No, you know what happens is that I'm like most of my audience, that we're very much caught in a time warp from the after 2000s. We sort of got disillusioned with the music that was put out there.
Here's a quick fix, easy thing to do. Go to Apple Music, Brian Alexander Morgan Songbook. All of them are there.
Okay.
It's a nice little. It's not everything I ever wrote or ever did, but it's like enough of them so you can get the variety of then and the middle and now.
Yeah.
All there. My Drake is there. My Khalid is there. My Layla Hathaway is there. My Usher is there. SWV is there. All those things are there.
Yeah, I mean, Disc Dog is what I've go through and
no,
see.
But no, Songbook is an easy way to do it as a playlist where you can literally just let it play, and then each song will just play one after the other. Apple is cool that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the other question that we have is the movie's about to, before it starts, they ask you what song can we play just before we get the movie playing. What would you request?
Love's in Need of Love Today, Stevie.
Okay.
One of my all-time favorites, and also very true. If you could play Love's in Need of Love Today before Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, that all ties in, right?
Did you see the performance he did with George Michael of that track?
I think I have way back in the day, but I love what Jay-Z did with it, with my man Dion, who produced Common's producer. What's his name? His hip hop name. He produced it. But anyway, that is brilliant from Jay-Z's album. They sampled Love's in Need of Love Today. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I couldn't. People wouldn't. I think I couldn't leave the interview without talking about when the verses, Teddy and Babyface, and and my man Teddy plays Human Nature remix and stuff. Yeah, they. I guess those things. So and I noticed that there was everyone had their say and stuff. From your point of view, what was your? I mean, at the time when you were watching it and thinking, and he was playing it. Now, as I said, I said Teddy, Spielberg, Michael.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to play any of his remixes because I thought he had 20 hits that he could have just
absolutely
blown Babyface away.
And my thing was, that's not his remix. That's All Star. So that was my biggest problem with it. I didn't do it, so I wasn't trying to say I did it, but I'm saying the man who did do it needs to have credit for it. And you shouldn't be playing something that somebody else did. Yeah. Let alone I wrote it and he didn't say my name not one time. So I was like, whoa, you playing a remix that All Star did and a song that I wrote. That should not have been played. That was my opinion on that.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that, because I didn't realize that All Star actually brought in the Human Nature part of that. The
beat itself is All Star. Teddy added some stuff to it after the beat was already done. And so my thing is, I did a little test to see who was telling the truth about who did what, right?
Yeah.
So I asked some people that worked with Teddy on it, what they did. And then I asked All Star what he did, right? And so I was trying to get down to the meat of it, like who did that? The beat. I wanted to know who did them drums. Let's keep it real.
Okay.
So none of the Teddy people could tell me where those drums came from. None of them. When I talked to All Star, I said, man, where them drums come from? He said, I'm gonna tell you exactly where those drums came from. Then he told me what he sampled, how he chopped it, and I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, that is really the drums. So that was the end of that story right there. I don't care what everybody did after the fact. All-Star did them drums at his house in Jersey before he was brought up to Virginia to continue working on it with Teddy, with things that Teddy added like keys and other things as sweeteners. But that beat is All-Star, period. Okay. And then, but the A&R guy wanted to use the value, and I get it, wanted to use the value of having Teddy's name on there, on the remix, right? But guess what? I'm Swing to You was a gold single way before any of that came out, so none of that shit mattered anyway. I'm Swing to You was well established as a hit record before any of those remixes came out on that. Yeah. So but I'm talking about I'm Swing to You on that. Right Here, Human Nature was a bomb. That was a whole nother animal completely. Like when that happened, that's the difference between I'm So Into You and that. The remix to I'm So Into You was not consequential at all, to answer your question. It was kind of yes, that same sound, man. We know that. No, Right Here, Human Nature was a bombshell. Yeah. And so I refuse to have that given up to some other person who did not create the germ of it. See, because the germination of that record is that beat. We know Human Nature. When you put on top of it, it's gonna be dope. But it has to be that beat. And so, what do we know Teddy for? His drums. When we think Teddy and his drums. His drums sound exactly like Teddy on I'm So Into You. That sound like Teddy because it is. Right Here, Human Nature is All-Star, and Anything is All-Star. Yeah, the remix, and if you listen, you can tell. It's a whole another type of swag on those two records.
Yeah, I noticed because I the Human Nature one was on the Free Willy soundtrack. I think
absolutely
was that and I heard that, but to get Michael's vocals, the clearance, I thought the rumor was that Teddy was able to call him personally to get him to singing on that.
I hadn't heard that. I don't think I've never heard that before. Right now, when you're telling me that, what I know was that in 1994, Michael was not doing so well in the public eye, and Right Here, Human Nature went to number 2 pop.
Yeah.
So the putting it on Free Willy was after the fact because it was already a hit single on the radio as a hit record, period. So he added that because he was fighting with Sony. He was like, it wasn't a great time. He did the Oprah interview that year, I think.
Yeah. It was the whole
very bad. So he needed some good publicity. And I think Free Willy was a feel-good family movie. That was perfect. Put it in that. It let us use the video image. Teddy didn't approve all that. That was Michael himself. You feel me? Michael's image? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's Michael. You feel me? So whatever truth there is to what you're saying, that I don't know about that. I can't speak to it, but I know that it was Michael Jackson that put it on that Free Willy soundtrack and in that movie at the end credits. Yeah, that was on Michael's own label.
Yeah, on his own label. I'm just for you seeing the song getting hitting those heights. I mean, you must have been like, wow,
that was awesome. Well, I almost had another number 1. I almost had another Kept Out by Dream Lover.
Oh, Mariah, yes.
That Mariah called me and had me remix. So I have my own remix that year with Dream Lover. Look that up.
Do you still? Because I noticed that it talks about you still like being a DJ and stuff. Are you still doing that? Is it as fun or what's that?
Always. When you come in this house, I'm DJing for you. You come, not in COVID, but like I'm talking about, we haven't been able to go out. But when I was living in Sacramento, I was more out DJing out. LA, not so much. Once I got to LA, it was all about grinding in the studio. But Sacramento and the Bay Area, I was playing everywhere, all over. Bay Area, Oakland, San Fran, Sac. So I haven't been able to DJ like I want to as far as going out, but who has right now? So right now, but I'll always be a person who loves to play records for people, period.
What does the DJ do for you as a producer, being able to DJ? How does that help?
It helps because if you're a DJ, you have to care about what's happening. That's number 1.
Yeah.
And that keeps my ears fresh. That keeps me open to listening to what's happening and not being stuck in any one vibe. And I love that. I love listening to, man, you know how many records I listened to this just the past couple of days, just checking out new energy and new vibes from people.
Yeah.
And that's what a DJ does to me. It's like it keeps you fresh, understanding what's working on the dance floor, understanding what's working in the clubs, understanding what's working on radio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so if you're trying to make any kind of mix proper, you got to know what's happening.
Yeah.
What are you blending? What tempos are you using? Why? You know, all those things has to do with having your ears to the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I can't stop by asking you as a producer if you were to name your 5 of the best all time. Well, not all time. Let's go from the mid '80s to the late 2000s, because that was a good genre for R&B. If you were to say, 5 producers that you look and say, yeah, these guys, these people really held it down, who would you be your top 5?
Producers,
yeah, that probably wrote as well, but producers from that 86 to probably 2000.
well, does duos count as one?
Yeah.
Right. So Jimmy and Terry, Face in LA, Teddy, Stevie, Quincy. Those are my 5.
And I mean, when you look at people like LA and Babyface and Jimmy and Terry, if you were to separate the two of those two groups, what would you think? Because for me, when I listen to Jimmy and Terry, they don't sound the same. I could hear Babyface when he was on his own or when it was LA, I could tell. But with Jimmy and Terry, I couldn't tell some of the new edition stuff, some of the Alexander O'Neill, some of the SOS. I mean, they 470s, they would write stuff that you wouldn't know because they split. Even the Janet stuff,
right?
They seem to be the only ones who could write stuff that you wouldn't necessarily know it's them.
They could shapeshift.
And I don't know, when you think of, so you could tell a Teddy production, you could tell a LA and Babyface, or even just a Babyface, because you always hear his keys and his melodies.
Mm-hmm.
It almost felt as if, these guys had a sound that you could follow, but you couldn't.
Right.
So did that make, if you, as looking out as a producer, so even R. Kelly, I could always tell an R. Kelly with his little keys, you could tell R. Kelly did that. But when you, as a music creator yourself, when you look at all those people and you see the ones who don't sound the same, that you can't tell unless you see the credit, is that harder to do you think, or is it harder to keep a distinct sound that across the board?
You know what? I want to amend my list. I just thought about something. You made me think about something. So I only got 5, right?
You can add anyone if you want.
All right, I gotta bump Teddy for Pharrell and Chad for the Neptunes, because when you're talking about beats and melody, they killed it. Like, they are the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and the LA and Babyface of the whole thing, because Pharrell does ridiculous melodies as well as ridiculous beats, and not everybody can say that. And then a whole shit ton of them. Like, it's insane. People don't understand how many incredible, impactful records they really did on hip hop artists, on singers. Didn't matter. All brilliant, ridiculous, and then like iconic joints. Just Shake It Fast and Timberlake and his own joints and
Noriega
and Noriega. I mean, come on, it's endless. The clips, come on, bro. So like, nah, I think that what Teddy started, the Neptunes came and body slammed on the whole world, like seriously. So I would say Chad and Pharrell are really, really up there, number 1 and 2 in there.
Yeah.
Jimmy and Terry for my original inspiration. Face in LA for just creating something in the middle of all that was different than Teddy and the other stuff. I like that. They were different than Jimmy and Terry. That was good. And I loved how they used melodies and voices. Whitney's and Tony's, and you know what I mean? That was amazing. Yeah. But yeah, Neptunes are up there. My top 5 for sure.
Yeah. I interviewed Tammy Lucas, who started off with Teddy, doing all the oh goodness, Is It Good to You? Did
Oh yeah.
sang on Goodbye Love, then did the Black Streets. But then she discovered the Neptunes at the talent show, started writing with them. She wrote what did she write? She wrote the song that the Neptunes did for SWV,
Oh,
Use Your
use your
Heart.
heart. Yeah.
So it was her who did the reference and co-wrote that, and they produced, and I think they did stuff with Total. But she
Dope.
said back when Chad the Pharrell was in high school, he already had the vision back then. He was,
Yeah.
so she could see that he was just always,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when she and they parted companies with Teddy around '94, it was like let's just create music and stuff and stuff. So it's
Thank God they did too. And guess what? Isn't it ironic that the same God that found them is the same God that found me? Kenny Ortiz.
so how did so when they left Teddy, so they were like looking for space, and that's okay.
Kenny Ortiz found them and put them on Use Your Heart. That's how they got onto SWV's albums, because of Kenny Ortiz.
Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it's been amazing, listening to you and talking to you about your journey, and it's not just SWV, but it's, I think, the fascinating thing you mentioned, because I spoke to Cut Close Tabitha from Cut Close and said, why did Anthea sing all the leads, and she said the same sort of thing, like, look, we all got paid the same, but she was our bread and butter. So why do we
There you
just all
go.
have to sing just for the sake of it? But it's great to hear, because I think in the '90s a lot of the male groups started to interchange. They didn't. They tried to mix it up a little bit so that we didn't have the main
It's not
star.
really complicated. I just think, like I said, if you start out that way and that's your brand, roll with it. But if you don't start out that way and you start out another way, then trying to impose that on your fans is kind of weird. It's
Yeah,
just, you gotta slide them. That's how they started. That's how they sounded. Nobody thought that was weird because that's how they started. If you try to start changing it up midstream, you risk alienating your fans. So it's as simple as that.
yeah. Well, I appreciate it. It's midnight over here. Well, quarter to midnight. But as I said, I can't wait until your stuff comes out, and I'll be sure to get people hyped up about it and stuff.
Well,
It's been fascinating hearing your take on stuff, being educated on the whole dynamics and of the group. As I said, I never understood why you do 80% of a triple platinum album, and then the less you do, the less the album sells. And
you're
there's
right.
a mechanic towards it. Like, he's only doing one song. We're not even going to go. We're just going to go. We should change things around, and I don't know.
Yeah. See what happens when you change horses in midstream? There you go.
Yeah,
But,
but
guess what, though? The real stuff always endures.
yeah,
That's the thing. Look how rain is still a factor right now as we speak. Rick Ross, come on. Are you kidding me?
yeah.
Summer Rain, he got it out right now. Chris Brown, I just cleared the joint last week for Chris and some new record. Bryson Tiller used it on the introduction on Trap Soul. I mean, bro, it's insane. And then the
Yeah.
TikTok world is going crazy. All these kids are singing it on TikTok now. Avery Wilson, a big TikTok thing just happened with Rain. Avery Wilson sang the hell out of it, but now all these people are lip syncing to Avery Wilson, acting like it's them singing Rain. I mean, that's a thing right now. You hear me?
And
So
the checks
crazy.
are popping in when that happens.
Absolutely, Spotify's, all that stuff. But more than that, because I'm past the whole part of it. That the money part of it is like, I'm over that. I'm all about the impact to the culture.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's still impacting 25 years later. If you look at my Instagram, I constantly post all these versions of things that people do, whether it's Week, Rain. Remember, I did Week over on JoJo too, on her debut album, which went platinum.
Wow.
And it's just a zillion. Gretchen Parlato's jazz version of Week. That's amazing. That Robert Glasper produced. It's ridiculous. There's a house version of Week that Maurice Joshua from Chicago produced. That's brilliant. Like,
have you done
crazy.
your own version of it?
I got a version with me and T-Pain doing it. That might be on the unreleased joint.
Okay. Okay.
See?
Like,
There you go. I got my demo of it still from '89 when I wrote it about Shantae Moore.
Yeah, I saw that in Wikipedia. So it was a
Yeah.
true story that you wrote it.
Absolutely. For Charlie, but about Shantae. Yep. Totally.
Did she ever find out? Well, I'm sure she knows now.
Oh,
But
she knows. Oh, she knew then. Yeah, she found out pretty quick. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was
did it work?
inspired by her. No, well, I mean, she's cool. It's flattering when you're somebody's muse. You know, that's always flattering, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it's a big old million-selling platinum single.
No, but when you first wrote it for her, but
it wasn't for her. I didn't write it for her. I wrote it. I was trying to write it for Charlie Wilson.
No, but did you when you said, "Look, this is how I feel about you,"
I never said that. No way. I never could tell that she was my boss's girl. That's what Weak is all about. It's about tension and resistance, and no, cannot happen.
Oh, see, this is what Wikipedia and all these things have, is that you were in love with her and you wrote the song.
I wouldn't say I was in love with her. A crush, maybe. A crush on her. Sure,
okay.
Sure. But it was a what do you call that? When you can't do it, you can't. It's
fantasy or something like that?
No. When it's, what's the word? I almost came to me. When it's dangerous and when it's when you can't do it.
Yeah.
What's the word? Come on, help me out. It's like when you want to do something, but you can't.
Yeah. That's the way.
That's what it was, and so that's why it starts out saying, "I don't know what it is that really was happening, but this is crazy." You know what I mean? It was one of the only times I wrote it from a really true space of something real happening in my mind, like in my life. I never really write from a real place like that.
Did you ever get her to sing a version of it?
Absolutely not. Mm-mm.
Okay, that was pretty quick.
If I got somebody to do it, it would be Charlie, the person who I wrote it for.
Have you met him?
What? I know Charlie for years. Charlie came to my house and hung out with me in Sacramento all the time.
So, okay,
and I just talked to Charlie recently in the last couple months. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, but have you told him, look, can you do this?
He might do it. I don't know. We'll see. Charlie's working on his own shit. He definitely, come on, he's the guy. I'm feeling like I'm Charlie now. After Kanye called me, I'm feeling like Charlie now. Like Kanye, Snoop, all them called. I'm finally getting my moment of that, right? So he doesn't need me to do nothing. Trust me. Charlie's chilling still. Yeah, but I could do, if I did something with him, I would want it to be something completely, utterly fresh and new.
Okay.
I do have a couple of records that I let him hear recently that I did like in the early 2000s. One's called Better Man. Dope. That if he does it, it's going to be ridiculous. It's a dope song. Ray Parker Jr. heard it and went, "Why didn't you put this out yourself?" I'm like, I don't know, bro. But Ray Parker's like, "Brian, you're tripping." He likes my vocal on it. But I just hear Charlie on it.
So you're talking about Ray Parker Jr. I know, and we saw the DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic stuff, and really invoked a lot of memories.
Cassidy's a good friend. Cassidy's one of the DJs that's sitting on Real Love, waiting to drop it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cassidy, Jazzy Jeff, Mad Skills. I got, those are my Questlove. Those are my cats that I got ready to drop it.
But then with Ray Park and stuff, because
good friend came to my house in Sacramento. We hang out. That's my guy. He's been to this house like recently.
Yeah. Did you ever get them to I'm sure you have a studio at home to record stuff. So
Ray just moved. It's like we switched places. I moved from the Sacramento area. He just moved up to the Tahoe area. So now we're like traded places.
Yeah, but getting them to drop down, especially
the old guys. He would. Ray would. He loves to play on stuff. That's like no problem. That's just a phone call. Yeah, he absolutely would. Yeah, for sure. That's a good guy right there. Ray Parker Jr. is one of the best cool dudes ever, man.
I mean, he in the mid '80s, he was untouchable with his suits, his voice, and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm just surprised you guys don't do a lot of those sort of like come in, let's like back in the '80s, they were doing a lot of people singing and stuff, and then just jamming, and it wasn't about them, just.
We still could. I mean, but right now, like he set up a whole nother household in far away, right? So now he's just not here. But when he comes down, he just came over to see my new place. I bought this place 2 years ago, and I spent a year renovating it. He came in to check on it maybe 3 months ago, and then he's been up in Tahoe ever since.
Okay.
So it's kind of like timing.
Okay.
And there's a documentary that they just did on him that he's traveling all around promoting for Sundance and all that stuff.
Okay.
He's not in one place. Ray's moves around. He's like Mr. International businessman guy. He's amazing. I'm trying to be like Ray. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, Brad, you know, I can't leave without asking you about your political side because anyone because I think this, if anything that I know by following you on Instagram is that there is the very much into the political.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. You better believe it, because you know why? Because real life is like that. It'd be nice if we could. You know how you go to people's Instagram, and they're like, they might be a model or a singer or whatever, and then every single thing is just that, just singing, just modeling. That's not real life to me. Now, it might be cool for your page, but I'm not, 25 years old. I'm fucking 54, paying a lot of taxes. So I'm going to get on my joint and express real life. You know what I mean? I love having cool music in between the real life, but isn't that how life happens? We escape to our music, and then we got to get back to reality. You got to pay taxes, or you got to look what's happening. They're trying to steal your vote from you, or just know what's happening is what my page is. Like, I know a lot of people aren't engaged like I am, but my page, I've been told, is a place people who don't really like politics can come to my page and get a real quick summary of what's happening in any given week. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, but it's not. You're not anti. Are you anti-Republican or pro-Democrat?
Well, I'm pro-democracy,
okay.
and recently Republicans have been anti-democracy. So absolutely anti-Republican right now, because they're so pro, acting like total authoritarian right now. What the hell? So we were like, whoa, we don't want to do a dictatorship, and that's where the direction they were going. So, and that's where they were still going. Look what they just tried to do January 6th. That was huge. I know you saw that. So they tried to literally steal a vote from the people. So that's pretty serious. And we got a lot to do to fix that, because the white supremacy it's not just in America, it's all around the world, as you see. And so when you got Putin interfering in not only our stuff, but you guys' stuff with Brexit and all that stuff. So that's a lot. So what happens is that connects the world in a way, just like music does. So it really all ties in. And then when has there ever been politics without music as a soundtrack to it? There's always been that.
Yeah. I mean, I went to college in first in Alabama, then I moved to Milwaukee before living in Redondo Beach in LA. I lived in Redondo. Politics back when I was there, we had Clinton and then we had George Bush.
And Redondo Beach is very conservative and very racist.
Probably now. Back when I was there, it didn't seem that way.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't seem that way.
If you were in Redondo, you had a little bit of a better Manhattan Beach, I would say.
Yeah, Well, Manhattan was up. Yeah, we had Hermosa. Then so I had Redondo. Then we had Hermosa.
Redondo was the cooler of those three, rather.
Yeah.
Manhattan and Hermosa, forget it. And now it's even worse because of propaganda and the social media.
Wow.
Those people really believe that the election was stolen, like all kind of lies, even though they've proven over and over that it wasn't. But when you got propaganda, like only people watching Fox News and they just believe lies all day, then it's hard to tell them anything different. It's very dangerous.
But
that's where we are.
And I was there, as I said, I was there throughout the mid-90s and 2000s. And by that time, we only had MySpace. So social media wasn't there. And people didn't really care much about politics back then.
Right.
So I'm in the UK and I'm looking in and I'm seeing, I think
that's pretty scary, huh?
Yeah, especially when Obama came in office, it felt as if the vision really, because when Bush was there, people didn't like it was the war, which was unpopular. It wasn't about Republicans. It was about, they weren't happy with the direction of the war with Bush.
Right.
When Obama came in, it was almost like, this man is evil and we're going to break it. The Tea Party thing rose up and that's where it just started and it hasn't healed. There's been a rift between left, right.
And I like how you said when this man came in, he was evil, because everybody knows it's the exact opposite. So it's like that lie and that whole premise is what we're dealing with now. And then even furthered into all these other lies about the election, lies about his Putin's interference. It's just all lies. So you have a Republican Party based on lies. That's very, very dangerous. When in fact, Barack was the best thing that ever happened to this country. He rescued this motherfucker, number one, from what Bush had done with the economy. So he brought it back from the dead, put life back into all these corporations that had to have a bailout, made the money back, and got out of there alive, which was amazing considering that there was a Tea Party who was constantly talking about trying to kill him. And then Mitch McConnell obstructing everything the entire time and won 2 terms. So it's like, what?
Yeah.
So obviously the people felt something different than what the propaganda was. And then the same thing's happening now. The reality, 100% different than the propaganda. So, but people are realizing that now, though. They're like, whoa, we almost just lost our entire democracy just now.
Yeah.
That just happened. Yeah. So they're paying attention now. And guess what? When they come to my page, I'll always have a word for them.
Yeah. Well, I needed to talk about that because it's one of the things.
I love it. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. I'll be honest. When I lived in the States, I was more of a conservative, but I know for the first Bush, I think,
and you obviously know that doesn't mean the same thing as it used to mean at all now.
Yeah,
that's a bygone that's never coming back. What you call conservative back then that doesn't exist now in the I'm talking about in the party now. It just doesn't. They're just sucking Trump's dick and that's it. And the dick and what's in the dick? Racism, hate, xenophobia, lies.
Yeah.
Are you down with that? No. So the conservative like you would not have a home in that what we have now.
In fact, actually, after I think when he wanted to have a rally in Oklahoma on Juneteenth,
bro.
That was when I said he had lost the election. I think from that moment I said, because I didn't realize you could be that overt. But
he's been way worse than that. Oh God, please.
I mean, I think people miss, all the lies and all the stuff. People, okay, Trump is Trump, but when he did something as overt as like, I'm going to Oklahoma on Juneteenth to have a
that's pretty blatant. How about this for overt? I'm going to steal mailboxes and shut down the post office because I don't like voter by mail. How about I'm going to lie and say that the virus ain't shit, even though I know that it's deadly as fuck, and just let people die for a certain length of time. He did all that. It's like, my God, look at us. Why is America having this many deaths when other countries don't have nowhere near the amount of death that we have? So because of him being an egomaniac and a narcissistic piece of shit. So when you put yourself in front of the entire country and all you want to do is have a perception of something, that's way beyond party. And that's why I tell everybody now, it's not about left or right anymore. It's about right and wrong. We've been in a right and wrong thing for a long time. It's never been. It's right now, left and right, irrelevant. Right and wrong, you got to correct when you're wrong, you got to correct it, or you're going to go. The Republicans are dead wrong and they're going off a cliff. And so whoever's going with him, there they go. Because look what just happened. Even with all their gerrymandering, stealing, lying, we still won because the people know better.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully the next 4 years would just change the course where they can eradicate.
If they don't change this filibuster thing, if they don't change it and put this HR1 in where we get the voting rights back because they gutted it in 2012. They voted the Voting Rights Act. So now it's about 200 bills out there across the country trying to take away, because they didn't like what just happened, right? So now they're trying to take away voting by mail, the very thing that they loved so much for years, taking it away because they saw that when Black people do it, no, we don't like it now. And they only did it because of the pandemic and they couldn't vote other than by mail, right?
Yeah.
But now if we don't change that shit, and we will, it's happening. So I have every confidence that we're going to change we're going to get HR1 passed. It's called For the People Act. It's amazing. And it's going to stop them from lying about voter fraud, which there's non-existent voter fraud, but they keep trying to change the laws based on a lie, like they always do.
Yeah. Yeah, I do hope that it becomes fair, because I said I've been disillusioned with politics since the way these governments handled the virus, handled the
crazy.
It's been so especially with Trump, it was being from the outside, it was hard for us to watch. I couldn't imagine. I have two younger brothers who live out in Oregon, and I couldn't, and to them it was, it was hard to understand why.
Okay, my very first time coming to London, give you an example. My very first time ever coming to London, coming overseas anywhere, was 2018 or 2019. Do you know a production crew called the Invisible Men? They're in London.
Okay.
They're dope. They did a lot of stuff, They worked on Zayn, that white rapper girl from Australia. What was her name?
Izzy.
Izzy. They did all that.
Yeah. Wow.
So these guys are there. So they found me, met me, flew me to London to work. There's this girl named Karamani. You ever heard of Karamani?
No.
She's dope. But that's not good for them if you're in London and don't even know her. But anyway, it's a management company called First Access. You heard of that?
Yes.
Okay, First Access, that's the wife of one of the guys that are in Invisible Men. His name is George. So I come there, I get off the plane. This is the exact moment that Trump had just called African nations shithole countries.
Yeah, I'm Nigerian by descent. Yeah.
and I'm in customs, and as soon as I say, yeah, they talk, they're from America, huh? And on all the TVs at the airport, Trump, they just repeating it on a loop. Shithole countries, Africa's shithole countries. And I was so embarrassed to be American at that exact moment. And I was like, oh my God, my first time stepping on London soil, and I'm embarrassed because of this fucking Trump. It's disgusting, right? And it never got any better from that moment.
Yeah. It's but yeah, as I said, we started off talking about Kansas and the Bible Belt and the churches, and it was very disappointing that they were wedded in the church. As much as I'm a Christian, to see how much they were so wedded into him prophesying that he was going to win.
Like he was some kind of savior. It's very scary.
Yeah. And so,
by the way, in America, that part of it is what turned into QAnon and all that craziness, like just delusional, crazy stuff that's tied into a Jesus concept / bro. It's all white supremacy wrapped up in a fucking conspiracy. It's really, really scary. But hey, that's why I stay on my shit. I stay focused. I keep the information and the music flowing.
Yes, and with that, we can't wait to hear the music. True love when it comes out, and but I appreciate
real love.
Why did I say true love? Real love when it comes out. Maybe it's because it's midnight here. But I would appreciate it. It's been great. It's been really fascinating and stuff. And
was it good? Was it good?
Yes, because as I said, especially talking about the SWV, the group thing, because no one's really explained it the way you've done, and but also the music and everything. So there's been a lot of great stuff. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.